creator of Beetle Bailey and High and Lows
Yep.
and many other things. The most prolific comic strip artist of all time, and he became like a father to me. And Mort remembered my artwork from the comic books I was doing. This funny animal comic. And anyway, he was out golfing with the head of King Features, Bill Yates. And Bill was lamenting the fact that they had a development deal for a year or two with Henson Associates, and they had tried out 200 different teams of writers and artists. And he was going like, they're nuts over there. There's nobody, and we're about to lose the biggest comic strip launch in the history of time. And Mark goes, that's a pig and a frog, right? Bill goes, yeah. He says, well, there's this hippie kid. And Bill called me. And I mean, this was so out of the blue when Bill Yates, this is Bill Yates. And I'm like, I thought it was my brother-in-law, Chuck. I swore at him and hung up the phone. And Bill called back. He said, no, this really is Bill Yates. It ain't Chuck, and I don't know if I like you very much. But anyway, he let me try out anyway, and I did some dailies and some Sunday pages and made up the jokes. And of course, I was a huge Muppets fan, and Bill liked them pretty good. And he asked me to do some more, and then eventually Michael Frith invited me over to 117 East 69 and showed me everything, but they were very non-committal, and I didn't know anything else in the universe except that this was oxygen to me, and this is all that I wanted. And so I just kept drawing and writing more stuff, and I kept sending it in for almost a year.
Oh.
And then one day, out of the blue, Jerry Jewell, Jim's head writer, called me and started talking to me about gags for the strip. And I'm saying, excuse me, Mr. Jewell, and he goes, oh, you've had the job for like a month.
Yeah.
And that was how it happened. And then very quickly after that, Jim flew in from London on the Concorde to meet me. He was working on Caper, and came in and taught me really how to draw Kermit. And that was it.
Then you're off.
Yeah. Oh, I was off before that. I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like off, like on the Concorde. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you've got a handful of them, if not more. I want an awesome Henson story.
Okay. There's a bunch.
Yeah.
One of my very favorites is this is far on down the line, and it was probably 84 or 85 because it was the Macy's parade, and Michael had designed the Fraggle Rock float.
Yeah.
And I found myself in the limo with Jim because they were trying to coordinate why the Kermit balloon had taken off and was now terrorizing people in Central Park. But this will just kind of give you an idea of Jim. We had this little moment, and he said, you try really hard, and there's so much going on, and it never ends, and there's everything swirling around you. Every once in a while, just stop and take a picture of all of it, and remember with all of your senses everything that's happening, because it'll never happen to you that way again. Don't lose it.
I mean, That's a pretty magical story.
Mhm. And I'll tell you so I had been working on the strip for a couple of years, and there were a lot of people involved, and it was a very difficult strip to do, because see, when we started doing the comic, the idea was Jim was retiring the show, and he wanted the Muppets to be in front of everyone in the world. And so he told King Features that he wanted the same joke to be in the Netherlands on the same day as it was here, and no one had ever done that. And the logistics of doing that in 1981 was ridiculous, and it kind of all fell on me to kind of be like a year in advance so it could be translated literally into 80 different languages. And because Mickey Mouse and everything, for those of you that don't know, like, Mickey Mouse or Blondie or whatever, they do it here in the United States, they immediately translate it to French and Spanish, but then they sell reprints of it around the world forever. But Jim didn't want it like that. The Muppets belong to the whole world, and he wanted to make sure that happened. So, anyway, and so I was working with King Features and the deadlines and all of that, and so many people had to approve every single joke and everything, and it was literally driving me mad. I was also, in charge of, painting and drawing the Fraggles and now the babies and everything, and so Jim called me up and had me come to Channel 9 in Toronto one day. That's where they filmed Fraggles. They were also doing a Miss Piggy special for ABC. And anyway, when it was my time to see Jim, I went to the sound booth there, and he said, I know it's been tough, and I know you're doing the very best you can. And then he took both of his hands and put them on my hand on my lap. And he said, all of the characters are yours now. It's all yours. They belong to you as much as they belong to me. I'm gonna start crying. And that was Jim. I mean, there's so many stories, the President of the United States called him and asked him to come to the White House to be guest of honor in 1984 at the Easter thing. And he was told by James Brady that the Muppets comic strip was President Reagan's favorite comic.
Wow.
And so Jim just said, oh, but the comic? That's Guy. Tell them Guy will go. He's good at that kind of thing. He'll like that. And so I became guest of honor, and they put my stuff in the Smithsonian, and I became a national treasure, and da-da-da. Because I'm like, oh, well, Guy will like that. Because the comic was mine, Jim was, of all of his talents, which are immeasurable, I think the one that meant the most to me, and probably to everyone that worked with him, was something that you wouldn't know. It was that he could see inside you to the best that you could be. There was something about you that he knew that maybe you didn't. And he was the greatest boss in that he would give you a job and then not tell you a thing about how to do it. And so you didn't want to disappoint him. And you didn't want to embarrass him or anything, and you were given this huge responsibility. And so you worked your absolute tail off, and you became 100 times or 1,000 times what you might have otherwise been to make Jim happy. Because we knew that if we made him happy, we were making you happy. And I did things that, I was telling Tiffany yesterday, if you go over to that Looney Tunes thing, and you look at Bob Clampett and Chuck Jones and Robert McKimson, etc., and you look at that artwork, and you're blown away by how great they are. It was because they were all in one room trying to outdo each other and vibing off of the incredible energy in that room. And that's what it was like working with Jim. Michael K. Frith. So, you know, my name's not on Muppet Babies. When you see Michael K. Frith, hi. You know, Michael drew with a blue pencil. That's all he had to do. He's a genius. And then they called me the Magic Brush, you know, so. Oh, and you want to hear how Muppet Babies was created?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So do you have any other questions for me, Casey?
I
Like,
do,
would
but
you like to
I'm gonna open them up.
Okay, so you guys want to hear how Muppet? All right, so.
That's probably the question.
All right, that's the question. So here's how it actually went. So that's how I remember it anyway, so, and I'm the only one here, so if I'm lying, who cares? Anyway, so Michael called me up, and FedEx had just been invented, and that's important. So I'm in Connecticut, Michael's in New York, and MTV had just been invented. And so Jim had this really fun idea to do a music video parody for MTV. And so they thought it'd be really funny if it was a 1950s song.
Awesome.
And so they started sculpting the heads and stuff. Michael told me about this, and he said, in FedEx today, you'll get some Polaroids of a baby Rolf head and a baby Kermit head. He said, just draw everyone as babies. Because remember, I was already drawing the Muppets as cartoons for the world every day. So he said, you know, so this is like on a Tuesday morning. And he said, and he knew that I would write gags and I would do that. All he gave me was, so they're in a nursery, so they can't go anywhere except in their imagination. I'm like, okay. And he said, so draw as much as you can and then have everything on my desk at 10 of 9 Thursday morning. So I took the train. Didn't flirt with Debbie and Patricia like I usually did. And I got to the desk because it was, so whatever I drew, Michael would take it over to Al Gottesman in legal and get it all, you know, legalized. And then he'd take it over to David Laser and get, you know, the company stamp on it. And then he'd walk a block or so down to Lexington Avenue, where there was a nice little French cafe, and Jim would be having beignets and tea over there at 10:30. And if Jim liked it, you got that. Ta-da! So yeah, you know, it's like